Welcome to episode 328 of the Grip Strip Podcast, the Rough Edges edition of the Grip Strip Podcast. And no, it doesn't have anything to do with the people I have to work for. My name is Silk Matthew. I'm your host, as always. And my co-host is the iRacing Indy 500 champion, the Firecracker 400 winner, computer genius, gentleman and a scholar. His name is Josh Fine. What's going on, brother?
Yeah, I'm doing great, Phil, of course. Yeah, glad to be back another week, of course. Lots of things happening in the world of NASCAR and IndyCar this past weekend. Certainly another race down towards the chase cutoff for NASCAR. Of course, NFL Preseason Week 1 behind us now, and certainly a lot to talk about there, of course. So, yeah, ready to get into it.
Yeah, and I mean, a very interesting IndyCar event at Markham, first race outside of Toronto. Still in Ontario province for the Honda Grand Prix of the Ontario Honda owners of Ontario Grand Prix of Markham, which saw two Andretti Autosport cars in Andretti Global, Marcus Ericsson, Will Power get on the podium, and former Andretti driver Romain Grosjean almost get Dale Coyne their first win in 8 years. But there was way more to that. Joseph Logano going out there on Saturday night and getting a win at Richmond Raceway in the Cookout 400, his 39th career Cup Series win. So second all-time, moves himself up to ninth in points. We'll get into all that. We will talk about some of the other news stories that came from both IndyCar and NASCAR. The Truck Series, next to last race of their regular season, and sees in a rain delayed from Friday to Saturday. Sees Kaden Honeycutt go and get a second career win. Grant Enfinger was the only other one that kind of was somewhat of a contender. So we'll get into that. The points battle, there is intrigue there for that cutoff spot. I wouldn't say there's as much in the Cup Series. We'll talk about NFL Preseason Week 1, FallBrawl preview, because we're drafting this weekend for the FallBrawl League, introducing a new person into the league as well, so it'll be slightly different, but mostly, basically, everybody else is back. So we'll get into all that. Even talk about the bullshit that is life these days and how fucked up people are, even in fantasy sports. In GSP Roundup, a chaotic Formula E finale. We'll talk about that. We'll preview IMSA GT, which will be at Virginia International Raceway, Supercars, which will be at Ipswich for their next to last sprint of the year. NHRA is back at Brainerd, last race before the U.S. Nationals, of course. And then the F1 Academy, for the first time in a while, will be back. And they'll be racing at Zandvoort, which leads into previews of the Dutch Grand Prix for Formula One, first race back from the summer break. IndyCars will be in Washington, D.C. Cup and Trucks will be in New Hampshire. For the Trucks, it's their regular season finale. Josh will let us know all things going iRacing gaming in the sim segment, and then we'll call it a day. So yeah, let's start with the rough edges of Markham. Delays in putting the track together, canceled all on-track activity on Friday. They had F2000 or Pro 2000 or whichever one. They had CASCAR, Pinty Series, whatever they call it anymore, and then the IndyCars. So condensed weekend, had to put everything together in 2 days. They were able to somehow do that. There were definitely some corners that were really questionable in terms of the construction of them, and it caught out people all weekend. Mentioned the likes of Power, Newgarden, Palou, but Louis Foster was by far the fastest guy during the Saturday running, and then got the pole, had driven off, and during the first stint, even with a caution that came out, was even though he was able to come back out with pace and pass basically everybody on track, and was on his way to taking the effective lead of the race back before he hit the wall on the crown of turn 7, the wall basically, which was I'm making the hand formation of how the wall was basically squared up, and it was just like a corner. And in other street tracks that are probably a little bit more developed or more that have greater, like, it's not even resource, but I'm like the Long Beach Grand Prix, St. Petersburg, those are rounded corners. For Markham, for whatever reason, they had multiple instances of these squared off corners. The next to last corner before pit road, or 2 corners before the front straightaway, they had the same thing, and they had a tire pack that was basically right in the groove, which caught out multiple drivers. So there was definitely construction issues that existed. The track was fully repaved. It looked like it was out in the middle of a parking lot or basically an industrial area. So that's probably part of the reason why they were able to do that. It still had rough spots, and there was a little bit of air you could see for some of the corners. But I mean, to be able to put that thing together, they've had way more lead time, obviously, than this race that we're about to go to this week. But I mean, for them to put everything together, get it done in 2 days, they had a bunch of carnage because it's a street course, very tight. There's corners where you were either going to wipe out or nothing, or you're going to get through. It was all or nothing. Foster, Kirkwood, amongst those who did pay for it yesterday, but somebody who definitely went out there and put his stuff on deck and didn't care was Marcus Ericsson. Had to pit. It was a 2-stop race. It was a 2-stop strategy, basically. He, with all the different yellows, stayed out, made a gap, short filled, put reds because the reds were the preferred tire because there was no tire wear, and went out there, door slammed Will Power in the hairpin. Somehow Will Power's, both their cars were still functional after that. Went out there, passed Romain Grosjean, who had taken the effective lead, and he had to be on a fuel save, and went out there and got his first win in 60 some odd races. I feel like it was that Nashville race a few years ago that he won, was the last time he won an IndyCar race, which was the first race at a new street course then as well. Former Indianapolis 500 winner just announced an extension to stay at Andretti. And I mean, it was not straightforward for Marcus Ericsson, Josh, but he went out there and got her done. And, in a lost season for Andretti Global in a lot of ways for Power, he struggled most of the season. For Ericsson, more times than not, has not been up there. It was huge for those guys. I mentioned the 3, and then for Grosjean, it's been a terrible year. Dale Coyne has not been on it for most of the year. Hauger's been the one that's kind of stood out over his veteran teammate. But great day for those guys. 4 Hondas in the Ontario Honda Dealers Indy at Markham. The best Chevys were Arrow McLaren cars. It was Pat O'Ward, who started basically tailback and somehow or another got all the way to 5th. Christian Lundgaard was 6th after starting 2nd. Those guys, some of these guys did 3 pit stops. The top 4 ended up only doing 2. Rinus VK, another great run for him, and the Juncos team, Juncos Hollinger. Scott McLaughlin, who was on major fuel save, ended up only finishing 8th. Green Rehal, 9th, salvaging the day for Rahal, Letterman, Lanigan, when Louis Foster probably had the car to beat. Mick Schumacher wiped himself out early in the race. And then Root Beer Floathead, finishing 10th. Stingray Robb, actually on merit. I mean, this is a motley crew right here. Root Beer Floathead, Stingray Robb, and Nolan Siegel, 10th through 12th. Man. And Nolan Siegel actually led 8 laps in some of the pit road sequences and stuff. Grosjean led the most laps, or second most laps, yeah. Foster led the most, and he finished 22nd. But, I mean, there was a lot that went on in this race, Josh, but really, considering all the circumstances that took place, Marcus Ericsson going out there getting a win, big deal for him and the Andretti Global team going to another street course here this coming week.
Yeah, it's huge win for Andretti Global and for Marcus Ericsson. One thing about his performance this year, it does show that he had the third most laps led here this season, but I think a lot of those laps led were actually at Gateway, of course, heavily skewed because of the amount of laps on the oval there. And it's been an up and down year so far. They mentioned him and Will Power. I guess with Will Power showing up, it's kind of helped him dial in the setup better, of course. I think part of it was just the way that the cautions fell in that race that allowed them to kind of go on that strategy. Of course, I think all three of the Andretti cars had pace. Of course, Kyle Kirkwood, part of that series of cautions there, lap 54, getting into the wall on both sides, and definitely led to those strategy decisions there. For Marcus Ericsson, finally winning for Andretti here, huge win, of course, first victory for the 28 car since 2018 when Ryan Hunter-Reay was running that car. So starting to kind of see what he looked like, back when he was at Ganassi, of course. Has won the Indianapolis 500, but there's a trend of him seemingly winning at new racetracks or new courses. So if that trend holds, then maybe perhaps next week could be talking about him winning again, since they'll be going to another new course next week in Washington, D.C. So for Marcus Ericsson, big morale booster for the team and everything. So looking forward to kind of seeing what he can do throughout the rest of the season to improve in the standings and all that. But I think he also got to feel a little bad for Romain Grosjean. Of course, looked like perhaps this might be his race there, depending on how the strategy went. And they were able to put him out front, of course, and looked like maybe they were on the right strategy there for that. But for Marcus Ericsson and for Will Power, they were able to maximize their stint pace there, and of course Romain Grosjean on a fuel save run, same as Alex Palou there, able to go out and win or go out and lead laps, but ultimately couldn't really challenge there at the end for against Ericsson on the final 4 or 5 laps there because of that fuel save. Even though he definitely did have a push to pass available for him, just wasn't able to deploy any of it really, because if he deployed any of it, would have resulted in running out of fuel. And I do think, if I read correctly, for Grosjean, he ran out of fuel coming to the line or coming across the line, so it was very close for him there. So it had been a really tall order to try to go out and actually win that race and defend from Marcus Ericsson there, and would have just led to losing out completely on potentially at least securing a podium. So it was ultimately the right strategy in terms of picking up that podium finish there, but for them it just didn't work out in terms of being able to have a outright pace to win there. So for Romain Grosjean, it's definitely the result that they need more of, but certainly for him, he's been in IndyCar for quite a bit now. Hasn't won in many years now, so it would have been a cool first victory for him to have there, and all that. And then I guess the other thing that I thought about is just the design of the track, how it was. Of course, a lot of people were unhappy about it on Friday. Douglas Bowles calling out Green Savory Promotions. That's the people that put together the track and how ready it was and all that. Then they were able to get it together. Of course, the hairpin there, turn 5. I mean, probably one of the more unique hairpins ever seen before. And I think a lot of people were questioning how well that would actually race. We saw, kind of the I guess the NASCAR Canadian Series run on there on Saturday, and how things went through on that, and then IndyCar on Sunday. But I mean, it looked pretty interesting there. Without the original marker there, they kind of just made a hairpin out of it. I don't think that was originally the real design for that, but kind of ended up being because of the lack of readiness, and made for definitely for some interesting passing there. And yeah, definitely with the contact, the willpower Marcus Ericsson made there, somehow they were able to both get through that corner and make it out on the other side and keep going, even though they made contact there. So, and that of course led to Marcus Ericsson winning the race there. It was definitely one of the race winning moves that he made there on the way to the victory there. So for Andretti, overall mostly a good weekend there, and everything. And of course, Palou, of course, thought maybe this would be one race where he didn't win. Of course, obviously didn't win, but at the same time he was still up there in contention for it. Looked like maybe for a minute he would pass Marcus or pass Romain Grosjean, but then he had to back off to save fuel there, and of course the able to continue moving forward here. Of course, had a bad qualifying with crashing there and defaulting to 12th on the grid there in final round, but of course able to turn that around and still come away with the top 5 finish. Again, this is why Alex Palou is so good in IndyCar, and what he's able to do, just the things that he can do to maximize his standing despite the adversity that they faced over the weekend there, and still have a chance to potentially win there. So I mean, this was ultimately a crazy race, of course, with the course design and then the result of just the way the course is designed that led to some of these accidents there. Definitely made things very interesting there. So we'll see if they keep that around for next year, or if they actually do put in the track layout for next year. But should be interesting to watch there. And then of course now going to another track here where it's going to be a brand new course. We'll see. Hopefully everybody's been talking about how ready would this Washington DC track would be, and I guess we'll find out here at the end of the week here on Friday how that actually looks like, and everything. And I guess if they were able to get the track ready for Markham, I certainly think that they probably will have it ready for DC for sure.
I guess for everything they put into it and all the promotion, I would hope they do. But I guess we'll find out. But I think you mentioned Palou, and it was an opportunity for all of these drivers that were right behind him. Lundgaard starting up front. Malukas didn't have, he had a decent starting spot. He was ahead of him. Kirkwood had a bad starting spot because he had issues in qualifying because of power, but he had gotten up there in the grand scheme of things to all those guys. Even Pato was in the back. So all those, there was an opportunity, but in the end, you even when Alex Palou has a bad day for him is 5th or whatever the hell, or 4th in this case. So, I mean, how do you beat that? Kirkwood has the same amount of top 10s as Alex Palou, but 3 less top 5s, 5 less wins, and 5 less poles. So that's the reason why Alex Palou is 133 points ahead. There's 4 races to go in this season. Of course, a doubleheader at Milwaukee, which is probably more advantageous for the likes of Kirkwood, Malukas, O'Ward. But I think by the time we're, done here, you talk about, 51 is basically the maximum amount of points that you can get in a race win. So if he has a 153 point lead or thereabouts. I think he could lock up the championship this weekend. I don't know if I should be using the term locking up, but when it comes to that, but for Palou to become a 5-time champion, it's more or less a matter of when, not if. To be 4 consecutive championships as well, to join some of the icons of the sport. To be 4 to win 4, it would be him and Bourdais. It's just ridiculous how good he's been. But we will see. So, yeah, those are the top 5. Really, the battle for second is still there, 24 points between second through 5th. Then there's another pod of Newgarden, McLaughlin, Rosenquist, 8 points. Ericsson, with the win, moves himself up to 9th. He's kind of in his own zone. VK and Power, currently only 3 points separating those two drivers. Scott Dixon, only 6 points out of Graham Rahal and 12 ahead of Kiffin Simpson. Who would have thought that? Kiffin Simpson has one more top 10 than Scott Dixon, too. I wouldn't have had that on my bingo card. Armstrong, even with some of the issues that they've had this year, he's only 20 points out of 12th. There's 52 out of 10th. So, it's still kind of possibility for some of those other drivers with a good final few races. In the leaders circle, Grosjean, best run of the year, so he moves himself up to 18th. In the battle for the leader circle, the top 22 in points, car owner points, will get the leader circle bonus. Christian Rasmussen, who's, of course, Milwaukee, won there last year. He's on the bump spot in 22nd, currently, or on the bubble in 22nd, 6 points out of Kyle Collette. We don't know what's going to happen with him. Dennis Hauger, we don't know where he's going for sure. He's an Andretti driver, but all 3 Andretti cars are set for next year. Mick Schumacher, we don't know where he's going. That charter, the Rahal Letterman Lanigan charter, is going over to Dryan Reinbold. Then Stingray Robb had one of his best runs of his life this past weekend. So there's 14 points separating 22nd with Rasmussen and all the way to Robb. And this is probably going to be he's going to be super excited to be around his kinfolk this coming weekend. So, that'll be an interesting thing, especially on a very quick, very small street course. And it'll be rough, I'm sure, because it's DC roads. So it's going to be way different than Markham in that sense. I think there's going to be similarities, though, to what might happen in Markham in terms of the construction and the like. Alrighty. So that was the Indy cars. Let's get into NASCAR. The Cup Series race, I mentioned the Cookout 400 at Richmond Raceway there was some semblance of passing. There was, of course, pit strategy because of the way of the stages and tire fall off and the like. Only four cautions, 2 for stages, so only 2 for cause the whole entire night. There were, 4 double-digit lap leaders. Ryan Blaney, who started on pole, won stage 1. You had Christopher Bell, who ends up in 7th. Chase Briscoe, who was up front all night, led the most laps. And then the guy that got him had issues there on that last green flag cycle, coming to pit road late. Went and basically got passed there by Joey Logano in traffic. Logano then goes and pits in front of him. They go and keep track position coming off pit road, and that was essentially the difference because Briscoe tried to do different, lines and but Joey Logano, Paul Wolfe go out there, get a big victory, second win of the year, second win in the last, basically month. Would say like just over a month ago, we didn't think a lot of what Joey Logano was going to do, or if he was going to make this chase. Now he's ninth in points and looks like he has a ton of momentum. But after these next two races, I have to start to wonder, what is the 22 really going to look like going into what will be a majority 1.5 mile racetrack and above 1 mile racetrack chase that will be taking place here. Logano goes and gets that victory, number 39 of his career, so one away from his original mentor, the one that discovered him, Mark Martin. Logano over Briscoe, as I mentioned. Gumby Cindric 23rd to 3rd, and probably put himself in pretty good position to make this chase with that performance. Dennis Hamlin at home in a big emotional weekend. They dedicated the grandstand seats where his parents would sit. His oldest daughter, sang the national anthem for the Truck Series race. So big weekend for him. Finishes 4th. William Clyde Elliott II was 5th. Kyle Larson started 30th, was generally nowhere for a good amount of the day, but came around late to finish 6th. Christopher Bell, Josh Berry, who had issues on pit road at one point, or got screwed on one of the caution cycles. I think the caution when Zane Smith wrecked caught him out. William Byron, Alex Bowman, and Tyler Reddick from 32nd to 11th were your 11 cars on the lead lap. Brian Blaney got caught a lap down, finished 13th, and then Bubba Wallace had issues after that first stage, got caught out with the pit road strategies and stuff, finished 20th, 2 laps down. So some of the other people, Hocevar had a blown engine, so loses some points, loses a lot of ground. A few weeks ago, he was 5th in points. He's lost some ground since then. For me, I was obviously pissed because wanted that win. I know Briscoe's not ever really been a fan of Richmond or driven Richmond well for his own words. It's a team that is known to do well at Richmond, especially when they had Martin Truex. Qualified well, which has been rare for this team this year compared to what it was last year. You lead the most laps, you're up there. You had a good long run car earlier in the race, but at that point during that run, whether it was the brake issues that he mentioned or something else, couldn't keep it together, lost that lead to Logano, and then you can't give a guy like Joey Logano and Paul Wolfe that advantage. And even during that last run, I don't even think that Briscoe gave himself the best opportunity to try and pass him. I think he was, between the aero wash, hitting traffic the wrong way, just pissed me off. I was really disappointed. It's hard enough to win these races, and you give them in some ways, it feel like you give it away. Is pretty weak, especially when you consider Keebler Gibbs got 2 wins this year. I think it's pretty sad that Briscoe only has 1. But yeah, Joey Logano went out there and got it. This run of races, these tracks have definitely gone in the favor of the 22 car. While Blaney has been up there all year, no matter what the track has been, this 22 team has gotten a lot of momentum, and they've got a slogan. They got T-shirts getting ready to be made for the haters, for if he could go and get a 4th championship. If he gets a 4th championship, this time in the chase format, they could still hate on him, but, he'd be joining. There's like 10, I think there's about 10 people that have 4 or more championships or less than that in the Cup Series. So Joey Logano trying to join that illustrious list. And with performances like what he had on Saturday night, Josh, it's not as hard to fathom the way they've been running.
Yeah, it's not as hard to fathom, but like you said earlier, it's going to really depend on what things look like in the chase part of the schedule here, because right now Penske has had such a huge, I wouldn't say advantage, but they've certainly had a more favorable schedule that goes along with what they've been able to master here for the majority of the next gen era, where they've been on speedways and flat tracks and everything. But I mean, even if you go look at how they've performed since June 28th, some of these track types are a lot similar to what we have in the playoffs here, or in the chase here. So yeah, for Logano, June 28th after Sonoma, looked like he was going to be out of the chase, nowhere near it in 20th, and now he's in 9th place, gained on the leader here. So and definitely within that spot, where not close to that spot where they say that you need to be in, but certainly trending toward being there. So it's gonna be interesting to see for sure. But yeah, since then, I mean, they finished 12th at Chicago, which is a mile and a half there, so that's not a bad result there, and everything. And they finished third at Indianapolis, which flat track, but they needed speed there, of course, and they were able to run up front there. So yeah, since then, I mean, Logano's climbed all the way up to now 9th in the standings. So yeah, for him, I mean, it's still tough to determine whether they can actually go for the championship, but considering the schedule, but they're certainly knocking on the door of being a surprise contender there for it. So yeah, I mean, it was definitely, if you're a Briscoe fan like you, I mean, it's definitely disappointing. I mean, just to see a battle for the win there at the end of the race. I mean, they got off pit road, and then Briscoe wasn't ever able to get by him. I mean, he got close to him with about 2 laps to go. He was right there, like almost on his bumper, but just couldn't get off of the corner just as good as Logano. I mean, I think he was really charging the corners hard, trying to make something happen there in the center of the corner, but just couldn't quite get alongside him to really make a move there. And even running through traffic there, wasn't able to really do anything there. So yeah, definitely another opportunity for Briscoe, falling to the wayside there. So yeah, it was definitely disappointing there. Yeah, for other guys, I mean, Christopher Bell was up there as well, ran up front, led laps again. They were on the alternate strategy, of course, along with Tyler Reddick. They tried to split the final portion of the race there into 2 pit stops, or into 1 pit stop, and then Logano, Briscoe, the majority of the rest of the field did it on 2 pit stops there, and everything. And that was going to require them. They went on a long run there. I think their laps were around like 56 laps per run to split that into 2 runs there, which, I mean, it could have worked, but I think you would have needed to have better track position for sure, because they once they got out to the lead there, and Logano and Briscoe made their final pit stops, I think they were only a half a track behind Chris Bell, which for a short track like Richmond, and how the lap times were for them, they were running 24-second lap times, and I think Briscoe and Logano, they were running like at least a second and a half better to start off with in traffic, or off that final pit stop. So it was just going to be really tough deal for Christopher Bell to be able to hold on to that for the win there. So led the final 25 laps of that race, actually. So it was going to be a tall order there. So maybe it could have worked if they were a full lap down there to try to unlap themselves, but they weren't able to. So still a good result for Bell there. And Tyler Reddick, of course, stopping the bleeding somewhat there with that finish there, kind of after rough summer, they ran up front at least, and they were able to at least come away with the top 11 finish there. So good for them, I guess. Everything. Hendrick had a good run, puts himself a little bit further in the playoff or in the chase standings there. I think Ryan Preece didn't really have the day he needed to stay within striking distance there. Shane Gisbergen, of course, is now 50 points. I want to say he's now about a 50-point lead on Ryan Preece now. So it's gonna be tough for Ryan Preece these next couple of races. He's really gonna have to take a complete collapse here in the final 2 races for Shane Van Gisbergen to give up the final spot here or any of the other drivers to Ryan Preece there. So that's certainly going to be one to watch there. Ryan Blaney, of course, won pole, but I think he had issues with brake fade because they won the first stage and they looked like they were pretty fast, but they just had too many issues there going forward, and they ended up falling back to 13th in a lap down there. So I'm sure Blaney would have loved to have had that back. I mean, we did talk about Blaney being potentially a guy that could challenge for this regular season championship there. After Atlanta, that was definitely looking like the case there. But then, after that, they haven't. They finished top 10 at Iowa. They led laps here, won the pole at Richmond, but they kind of after that went at Atlanta. They kind of haven't been able to back up those results to continue to stay pace with Denny Hamlin there. So that was definitely for Blaney. He would have loved to have been the guy to win there. And then, of course, Kyle Larson, of course, like you said before, 30th, up and down, mostly in the mid-teens, I think, 14th and 15th. And then I think they were able just to, base off the changing the handling and pit stops and all that, they were able to get up to 6th. And then, of course, the infamous run to the helicopter and jet to go to Knoxville, and that all worked out for him, and he won Knoxville Nationals. So, pretty interesting there. But now, of course, 2 races left here in the regular season here. About to be getting set here for the chase here. So, don't think anything changes here, but certainly, it's starting to get pretty interesting, especially within that 16 now. We're talking about Logano climbing up there. Is actually only 1 point. He could basically be in 8th place there, 1 point behind Kyle Larson, 2 points, or not even 2 points, but still a little bit behind Elliott and Christopher Bell. So still pretty tight between 6th through 10th there. So, and even up to 5th. So still, if Logano were to somehow win the next 2 races, that's a lot on the line there that he could gain potentially there. So still a lot to play for here in the last 2 races here in the regular season.
Yeah, the Dale Jr., I don't know how many times he's talked about the top 6, whether it's on the pod or whether it's on his races that he would be working. So I think the teams know this too. So they're trying to put themselves in a position to get into that. And right now, of course, granted, Briscoe is pretty. I think the battle for 5th and 6th is between 3 drivers, really, Briscoe and Elliott and Bell now. And they've all locked their chase spots up. I figure a bunch of them will do the same. The vast majority of them will do the same by next week in New Hampshire without, the bottom falling out. The Logano, though, was in a good place to get into 8th, like Josh said, only a point behind there. And then, 50 points between SVG and Preece. And then an additional 7 points ahead is Hendrick. Bubba's plus 70. So, essentially it would take, Josh said it would take a miracle. It would take going out there winning New Hampshire and Daytona. I'm not saying Preece can. It's his home racetrack in New Hampshire for Cup racing, at least. And he's always had an ability there. He won the Clash earlier this year. So it's not out of the realm, but we'll have to see what happens there. I don't know. I feel like the Penske cars will have an advantage, a greater advantage for sure there. in terms of the points. Hocevar's lost a ton of ground. He was 5th in points a few weeks ago, and now has went on this short track. The short tracks are not the friends of Spire Motorsports, so they're going to be happy after New Hampshire's done, really. I think they'll be glad that this stretch is over, and they'll be going to 1.5 mile racetracks for the vast majority of the rest of the year. The Hendrick cars are all kind of clustered together from 6th all the way to 12th. So, I mean, I think they're holding on to something. We just haven't seen it yet because of this segment of tracks that have been in the schedule. I feel like once they get to Darlington, they're going to have a little extra pace to compete with the Toyotas. But, I guess we'll really find out when that happens. But speaking of Hendrick, Larson going and getting the benefiting from the weather issues in Knoxville, Iowa, to go and win his fourth Knoxville Nationals in the last 6 years. Go out there and that's what he led every lap. Yeah, so competitions. Yeah, Sammy Swindell, slamming Sammy Swindell ran his 50th and last Knoxville Nationals this past weekend, made it to the D main there. So in terms of all, I wanted to see that Steve Kinzer, of course, is the all-time winningest driver with 12. Donnie Schatz has 11. And with the win on Saturday or early Sunday morning, Kyle Larson has now gotten to 3rd all-time with his 4th Knoxville Nationals. So somebody who didn't seem all that interested in his Cup car earlier in the day, he had qualified on pole. He'd won the Capitani Classic, which is essentially the precursor to the Nationals, beat Rico Abreu for that one there after winning the 360 Nationals. So I think he's the first person ever to win the 360 and 410 Nationals the same year. Or the first time I can recall that being the case, because usually it was for years Brian Brown going out there and other great drivers who focused on the 360 Nationals. So I think. And then they've only David Eismer, Shane Stewart. Oh, so Shane Stewart was winning in the 57 for Paul Silva back in the day. Brian Brown and other guys there. Sammy Swindell. Of course, Rico won it in 25, driving for his own team. Last year, of course, winning the High Limit Championship before he joined with Tony. Kyle won it this year. So I think it's the first time, that it's been a winner. The winner of the 360 Nationals also won the 410 Nationals. There are guys that have won. Of course, Sammy Swindell won the Knoxville Nationals and then has also won the 360. Reitzel maybe, but I'm not sure. So for Larson going out there getting the win, big deal for him. Won over 200,000 between the win in the main event and other additional bonuses. So big few hours for him. In other Hendrick Motorsports news announced today on Monday, the August 17th, news probably one of the worst kept secrets in motorsports. Connor Zilisch will be the driver of the 48 car starting in 2028. And Hendrick has done this over the years. It started way back when with Jeff Gordon in the early 90s, and that set the tone for what Hendrick became or has become. Jeff Gordon then took a shot on some off-road guy from El Cajon, California, and he became one of the greatest of all time in Jimmy Johnson, driving that 48 car. They went and swiped William Byron out from Toyota. To be fair, he was a Chevy guy. Then Toyota had picked him up.
For KBM.
And then Hendrick went and swiped him back up. You consider Clyde because of his dad's, Ford lineage. They had a little bit of a connection there, but then, they got picked up there. Junebug helped out with that. And that's also with Byron. And then you consider Connor Zilisch, drove for JRM last year, won all those races, should have won the championship. But there's certain inevitabilities. You have Larson, of course, his protege Corey Day, who also made the main event of the Knoxville Nationals. They're trying to hedge for the future, and he is a future of NASCAR. Kid from Charlotte, has driven everything, has shown talent. This has been a really rough baptism by fire rookie year for him, with a Trackhouse team that isn't as good as it has been in the past. But it's a good learning curve, being able to essentially do an apprenticeship for a couple of years in a smaller team before he has to go and join Hendrick, knowing that he's with two former champions of the sport, the guy who wins the most popular driver every year by default. And then one of the guys that is liked by many, and then Byron, who's been up there for years contending once he figured things out. So, it's not surprising Hendrick Motorsports loading up, having four dogs, and now they have the next big thing. I think when it comes to the future of this sport, you look at it, it's really Heim, Zilisch, to a lesser extent. I think you could talk about Hocevar, but Heim and Zilisch, for those two manufacturers, for Toyota and Chevy, are their future. Ford doesn't really have anybody. They're banging on keeping everything with Blaney. They may hope that Jesse Love comes off. I don't buy that that's going to happen, but for Chevy, keeping him in house, not letting him get swiped up by Ford was big. I don't think he was going to leave anyways for Ford, but because Ford's too stupid to help themselves. But Connor Zilisch driving the 48 car. Not really that surprising. And we'll see what the 48 looks like come 2028. Also, what the Trackhouse team's going to look like, because all their guys were free agents. Now they've lost one. SVG, is guaranteed to win on road courses at least a couple times a year. And he's 2 races away from making the chase on merit. It wasn't with a win and in. And then you have Ross Chastain with a new crew chief, and they were messing with stuff with this team, and it hasn't worked this year. A lot of moving parts, and a year and a half early. It sounds like what happened when Kurt Busch and Jamie McMurray signed all those years ago, and we thought it was like 20 something years ago, and they signed early for like 2007, and then it got moved up to 2006. Well, this is that next level. We're a year and a half out, and Connor Zilisch is going to be driving the 48 car.
Yeah, it's one of the worst kept secrets, of course, but I'll throw you another one. We literally waited a full year before Lewis was in a Ferrari, so kind of like that if you think about it in a way. But it's not surprising. They needed a guy in the 48, and Zilisch is probably the best prospect there, and he needs a real shot on a team that has its department better organized than what Trackhouse is certainly producing, and he's been having a tough time at it. And if you think about it, he's already been in Hendrick equipment. If you consider JRM Hendrick Light to a degree, they're all operating out of the same house anyways, almost. The 17 is in meetings with the rest of the JRM cars almost at this point. And so it might be all Hendrick prepared, but it's basically alongside with the JRM team there. So he's already kind of in Hendrick equipment to begin with, when he was in the Xfinity series with JRM, now at Trackhouse, of course, but hasn't really had the best season. So now, continuing to learn racecraft, continuing to learn the Cup car, and all that for Connor Zilisch there. They find a replacement to Alex Bowman here in the 48 car. Of course, which is funny because Alex Bowman took over the 88 for Dale Jr. and now went to the 48 to replace Jimmy Johnson, Connor Zilisch, given the 88 to drive this year, and now will drive the 48 in 2028. So kind of interesting there as well. So yeah, I mean, it's the future for Hendrick Motorsports, of course. Now people wonder, okay, well, what about guys like like you said, like Corey Day, Raja Caruth, of course. I mean, both of them still need more time in O'Reilly series for sure. Especially for Caruth, of course, he's definitely not ready for Cup. Corey Day's shown a lot of potential here, but probably still needs another season, potentially 2 seasons maybe, of racing there in O'Reilly's. And then a lot of people are saying, well, Larson, there's no way Larson makes it to 2031. Maybe he'll jump out early, and I don't believe that. I think he'll stick it out as long as he wants to. So you talked about him earlier, winning Knoxville Nationals and all that stuff, and yeah, that's true. And then people are pointing to comments he said in the past about wanting to run full sprint car season, but if you look at his schedule right now, I mean, he's probably done the lightest amount of outside NASCAR racing he's done in quite a while. So he's been doing a lot of racing with his kids and all that stuff. So doing a lot more of that than racing for himself. But I don't think he'll leave NASCAR early or anything. I think he'll stick to it until decide he doesn't want to do it anymore. We'll see after 2031 because I think that's when his contract is up there. But in the meantime, what happens to Corey Day? I'm sure Hendrick will probably want him to be in the fold there for as long as they can. So maybe potentially an option. Any of these drivers, William Byron, somehow he leaves, or Chase Elliott somehow decides to go to a different organization. So or retires, whatever. So anything can happen there. But I think that's not a question that'll have to be answered for at least a couple more years. But we'll see. But it's definitely gonna be interesting for Connor Zilisch. By default, rookie of the year this year, since no other rookies have been running. Although you could maybe make the case that Corey Heim is the rookie of the year, even though he didn't declare for it. Which is also interesting because they did say that you have to run less than 12 races to be considered for rookie of the year, apparently. And I guess Hamlin said he wasn't aware of that, and so now Corey Heim is ineligible next year for running for the rookie of the year. So you can maybe make that argument that he's actually the true rookie of the year because he actually won 2 races and is currently still waiting in the wings over Connor Zilisch, who's mired, and I don't even think he's even in top 30 in points still, and has had a very rough season here, first season here in the Cup Series. So it's going to be interesting to see what he can do in the 48. They're bringing Ally back, so I guess that's good, and everything. And of course, this year Red Bull has been sponsoring him here in the Cup Series. So we'll see if that sticks around as a personal sponsor for him, and if they continue to sponsor him, or if it gives Ally a chance to scale back on their sponsorship potentially. Maybe, I don't know. So it's a lot left to be determined there. So for Zilisch, I mean, now we'll see what he can do here in a couple of years when he's in top tier equipment.
And by then, I think he'll have worked out a bunch of the things that he needs, and he'll know what he wants in a car by then, I would hope. And he's always been able to win in anything else he's driven. So I think it's just a matter of time for him. And then when you put him at Hendrick with Elliott and Larson and Byron, pressure will be on, but I think that will make him go and get better for sure. Let us move forward into the truck series. Not really a whole lot to talk about in terms of the race itself. The Black's Tire 250 moved to Saturday afternoon because of rain on Friday, thunderstorms, lightning, the whole bit. Kaden Honeycutt started second. Shane Van Gisbergen actually started on cut. The winner gets maximum points. Corey Heim talking about a guy who should be Rookie of the Year. Has only raced 7 races in the Truck Series. It's ironic. It's crazy to think how many points he scored in those 7 races. He's in second. Christian Eck is third. Shane Van Gisbergen in fourth. Renan Finger fifth. He's the only other driver that led double-digit laps. Jake Garcia in sixth. Huge run for him. Chandler Smith. Tristan McKee. I think that was his debut there. In trucks, 8th, Gio Ruggiero, Daniel Hemrick, your top 10. There were, 16 trucks on the lead lap. You had Ankrum in 11th, Leitz got stage points in both stages, was 12th, and then Lane Riggs ends up 15th. Points leader losing, 40 points of his lead there with that massive points haul by Honeycutt, winning both stages, getting the fastest lap. But I think the greater story, credit to Kaden Honeycutt, get that second win. I think that's huge for him, getting the momentum he needs, getting into the chase. But I think the bigger storyline is Duvall wrecking. The only caution for cause in this race, wrecking and finishing dead last, and in the process basically opening the door for that 10th spot come this weekend at New Hampshire. It really isn't a battle for the regular season title. I think Honeycutt knows he's going to be second, but it's more about momentum. You look at the Tricon team, they got 4 trucks in the top 12. And then Chandler Smith, he's leaving the team, so you don't know what's going to happen with front row there. Lane Riggs losing some ground strategy-wise and everything. But, I think the greater intrigue is with that points battle going into this coming weekend at New Hampshire. Trying to make the most of that situation over there.
Yeah, you talk about the points battle there, and still 20-point separation, 21-point separation between Stuart Friesen, Tyler Ankrum, Jake Garcia there. So, it's going to be, I feel like it's going to take a lot still for someone to change that spot there. You're going to have to gamble on some stages here, and then also you're going to have to hope for some kind of disaster for Tyler Ankrum where he finishes below Stuart Friesen there. Not saying it's not impossible, but it's definitely something to look out for. But for Stuart Friesen, probably not what he needed there if he wanted to stay inside that battle there for the last spot. Of course, falling out there now with Tyler Ankrum. So not in a good position there for Stuart Friesen here to make the chase here in the Truck Series. Just not looking good there for him there. Kaden Honeycutt, of course, finally getting a victory here in the on an oval. Yes, so it's good for him here in the Truck Series, of course. Get momentum here going into the final race here, and it's going to be with the reset, I guess, give him a chance to get back within distance of Lane Riggs here. Of course, Lane Riggs finishing where did he finish? Finishing in 15th. So not the best race there. He was second and 5th here in the stages during the race. So not the best of races for Lane Riggs here, especially with one race left here. So should win the regular season title for Lane Riggs, but for the rest of the field, I think it's just another chance to build up momentum here next week in New Hampshire here. So we'll see what they're able to do here, but I think it's going to be, I think that last spot is going to be a little bit of a story here in New Hampshire, but I think other than that, it's just going to be about the rest of the top 10 getting prepared for the chase here in a couple weeks.
That's where it is. You got most of the chase is set. Wanting to go and get in. There's going to be a few weeks between this race. You can look at the field. You're going to have a hard time qualifying. I mean, it's to the point that Rackley War, of course, who's not even competing for anything of value this year, swapped rides between Dawson Sutton, their regular driver, and Tony Breidinger because they knew she wouldn't be able to make it on merit. So they had to swap rides for that. They know how tough qualifying is going to be this coming weekend. So it's something that we'll have to see. But the points, just to recap them, the top 6 have locked in, which is Riggs, Honeycutt, Chandler Smith, Eckes, Ruggiero, Majeski, Enfinger, Rhodes, more or less are fine. Hendrick would need to implode to not get their income plus 20, similar to what Josh was saying. Like, yeah, it's going to be very difficult to see that because you got the McAnally, 2 McAnally trucks are up there. They're going to be trying to work very hard. You have the 91 there. They think they also added another truck for Mason Massey this coming weekend. So they're hedging, trying to get more data. So, I mean, definitely going to be difficult. Stuball minus 20, Jake Garcia minus 21. Right now for the Thor Sport team at least has 2 representatives this year in their truck in the truck playoff. It's not been their best year by any means. Because I'm trying to see who the Cole Butcher's their other one, right? Yeah, and he's 19th in points. He's only 7 points out of Mini Tyrell. And then so that's really that. And then Corey Heim, just to mention, he's only 1 point behind Butterbean Queen in 14th, and he's 28 points behind Friesen. He's 28 points behind Friesen, and 48 points out of 10th, and he's run 10 less races. So if you want to know how bad the back end of this playoff is, Corey Heim's giving him 10 races, and that will be the same thing. He's beating Connor Zilisch in owners points with the 67 car, and he's run 12 races or whatever. They made that rule intentionally. That's almost like, you know what, you got us with the lawsuit, we're gonna screw you over out of making all that Rookie of the Year merch and stuff because you got us with that with the lawsuit and stuff. So then we're not going to allow Corey Heim to come in here. Well, actually, no. After this week, they made 8 starts. So I don't understand. I guess I don't know what the rule. I guess he's run more than, it doesn't matter if it was in 1 year or whatever. The old rule is 7 races. So he passed that rule in the year before. He's run more than 12 races in his Cup career. So in that sense, I guess it makes sense there. But yeah, the 51 car, which of course that charter is going to be, I think, sold to the Legacy. That one is going to be behind that 60. That right now is behind the 67, which is run 1/3 of the races that the 51 has. All right, so let us move forward. So yeah, let's get into preseason week 1 takeaways. I mean, for the Niners, didn't look like any major setbacks for anybody. No, they didn't really play any of the ones, so a lot of them were on the bench. Stribling, number 1 pick, the wide receiver, balled out, looked good. There were some good performances from the defensive linemen that were in, depth guys. Tennessee was playing their ones for a while, so really they should have won, but it wasn't. They didn't have it. And Cam Ward didn't look amazing. They won the game, but the reality of the world is I think San Fran has a lot of good to look forward to in terms of building the roster construction, trying to build out the foundation, not just at the running game, but what is it in terms of quarterback play behind the top two guys, of course, with Purdy and Mac Jones. They do have some quarterbacks that can play. They got a couple there with Rourke and Martinez. But the running back from Indiana has looked all right so far in camp. So I think he's likely to be the Kalon Black. I think he's going to end up being the backup coming out week 1 when they fly out to Australia. And oh wow, then just saw this. So there was Jamal Adams, the former New York Jet, and is gonna and missed the season. He got hurt. I forget what his injury was, but Zadarius Smith working out with the Falcons. Okay, oh, that's a look for Erdahl. Marlon Humphrey returned right anyway. And Darren Waller signing. Yeah, he signed with Carolina. Monangai is going to miss multiple weeks. Oh, that's brutal. So that's bad for Chicago. Von Miller signed with the Cowgirls. You'll mention what Jacksonville just said with Liam Cohen just said. Couple of 2 or 3 injuries, including one injured reserve for you guys. Puka Nakua, I don't know what a PSOAS is. I don't know what that was a misspell, but he's having some soreness. Miles Garrett returning in practice this week.
That's the muscle for Puka Nakua.
Yeah,
it's like your ab muscles.
Oh, geez. I've never seen that ever. So, well, I probably have not seen my psoas since I was a baby either, so it doesn't really matter. But I don't. So that's a whole other thing. Yeah, Jamal Adams, torn right quad. Okay. So he's out for the year. Jordan Tyson missed 2 months. Najee Harris visiting the Giants. Wow, that's something. Gino, sleeve on his lower left leg. Brees Hall strained his groin in practice. Garrett Wilson missing practice and injury. Maury Bamba, cornerback, missing a couple of weeks with a knee injury. Christian McCaffrey missing practice due to tightness and something to worry about. Yeah. We signed Khalil Herbert. He's legitimate. It is not a hold-in for a contract extension. Though I would understand him doing that because, they use him 900 times a game. A couple of the wide receivers dinged up for the Buccaneers, and Mbuka and McMillan. So that. So this is Jake Moody's career has gone down further. He's now been cut by the Washington General Commanders. But for the Niners, Stribling played well. Some of our defenders stood out there that are trying to make the roster. Look, what is it? Ian Rappaport is saying that GK has a realistic chance of playing week 1, which is crazy to think. After he tore his Achilles in the playoff game. Keeping guys that we need upright and putting ourselves in position to have to play the Rams there week 1 in Australia, try and get this elusive Super Bowl. That's what it's all about. Get through this preseason, limiting the carnage. Even if there is a substation Twitter that is going to goof on every injury that takes place for the 49ers, especially when it takes place on the practice field. But nothing crazy. I saw the highlights, and I think the wide receiver room, if they can keep everybody functional, could actually be a big plus and a huge game changer for Brock Purdy, who theoretically has never had a elite receiver room. And when you have first ballot Hall of Famer and Mike Evans, you got Debo back, you got Stribling who's playing out, you got Christian Kirk who, when he's out there, this Josh, and can play, has capability to go and break off the top, but also has underneath capabilities, which works with the crossers and a lot of the concepts that Shanahan has. But yeah, what about your boys, your Jaguars?
Yeah, I mean, for Jacksonville, Saturday played against the New Orleans Saints. Didn't start out too well. They gave up an opening kickoff. They got returned inside the 5, and then gave up an opening touchdown there, so it wasn't good at first. But then they came back. They rallied back in the second half. Game-winning pass deflection on defense there to seal the deal for Jacksonville. Had a couple of rushing touchdowns to get within. So yeah, it was definitely a good game for Jacksonville in terms of resilience there. But they do have, I think they do have some issues. Backup quarterback, I think, is an issue. You're a 49ers fan. You remember when Nick Mullins was the quarterback there. And I think he had didn't he have one good game against the Raiders on Thursday Night Football where they were crowning him like he was next Brett Favre because he came from Southern Miss or something. Yeah, so
he had his moments, but Nick Mullins, a lot like CJ Beathard, who you also had. Both of them are pretty trash. They're good clipboard holders, and that's what they should be, clipboard holders, not actually playing actual meaningful snaps in NFL regular season games.
Yeah, no, that's for sure. Nick Mullins, and he threw a pick first half and just doesn't have any zip on the ball or anything like that. So bit concerned there in terms of backup quarterback situation for Jacksonville there. Clipboard holder, knows the offense and everything, but you got to be able to actually execute the game plan and everything. So for that is a concern, of course. And the reason why I say it is because, the offensive line is still in flux for Jacksonville. Left tackle seems solid, but right tackle kind of up in the air right now. Guard up in the air, Patrick McCarry, seemingly had back surgery recently and don't know if he's going to go on injured reserve or not right now. So they may be playing with their rookies for right guard and everything. So a little bit of uncertainty here right now on offensive line for Jackson. Of course, what is that? Why is that important? Well, protecting Trevor Lawrence, very important. And obviously, if he goes down, that's really going to be really bad. If you have to play Nick Mullins or somebody. So don't know if they're going to make any moves or not. They should for a backup QB situation. I might take Gardner Minshew, honestly. At least he'll give you something there. But we'll see. But so certainly a little bit of concern there. But otherwise, still be a interesting test here coming up the next couple of weeks to see what kind of depth we have for sure here in preseason. And I did see today that Liam Cohen's leaning towards playing starters in next week's game here against or this weekend's game against the Panthers here in preseason. So we'll see what happens there. Definitely, would look forward to seeing how that plays out for sure. But otherwise, still kind of the same deal as before, just kind of waiting for regular season to start now, so we can, figure all this stuff out for real. But for Jacksonville, of course, it's definitely going to be a interesting couple weeks. Got to get the offensive line settled in here, get that all sorted out. So, otherwise, like I said, we're looking forward to fantasy draft, of course, here Sunday. So looking forward to seeing that play out here next Sunday night, and seeing how our team, both of our teams, I guess, turn out. I guess I have my fantasy draft for work on the same day in the afternoon for lunch. So definitely be taking care of that too.
Sorry about that there. Going and looking at that, for our league, it's 19th season of FallBrawl. So it's crazy to think how many years I've been doing this. Started in 2008, so it's crazy to think that. Oh, I mean, for us in fantasy, I have to. I know the draft. I haven't put it up there, but it's essentially based on what last year's regular season, the standings were. I think, I guess in theory, yeah. So if that's the case, we would have, what is it? 1, 2, 3, 4, 5. Yeah, I'd be fifth. You'd be sixth. Manny would be seventh. That's Wilson. Oh no, Matt would actually. Okay, so Matt would be eighth. Unless I'd have to look at it by regular season. That's the thing. That's what I should do. I wonder, I have to go look back on it based on the regular season results. But in theory, that should mean you would be ahead of me, right? So if I do it by record, then it would mean that Jeff would get the number one pick. And then I'd have to look at point. It would be, so I'll have to look at that. But we'll have the draft. I'll have the draft lineup probably set and ready for probably tomorrow. But it's gonna be a tough league. I got a new player in Edward, who's husband of my girlfriend, one of my girlfriend's best friends. So he's a football fan. He's a Baltimore Ravens guy, so he knows his stuff. I don't think he's played in this kind of league in terms of like IDPs and some of the other stuff to quarterback, but we'll see what happens with that. Everybody else is back in, so should be fun. It'll be good to see some of these guys. It's basically the only time I ever see them all year is during the Zoom call, so we'll see how that goes. But yeah, we'll let you know how it goes in the draft and talk about it here next week on the GSP. I got deleted out of a league, which was cute, probably because the guy was an asshole anyways and probably wears Depends like his hero, because I'd been in that league for longer than that dipshit had been in it, I think, and I've won it 4 times. I can show the trophy that I got from it from way back when I first won it, when the original commissioner was running it. I don't know, he had a hard on for me for how I played in the league, and probably I was the only person who actually wanted it to be run like a proper fantasy football league instead of bullshit like he did. So he can go suck a bag of dicks, and his league's gonna suck anyways. So I'm better off, because if anything, I could go and spend more energy on a good league. Considering where I'm at with my job anyways, I'd probably be better off going and playing fantasy football and trying to make money at that than going and doing it for the shitty organization that I'm currently employed by. But yeah, let us move forward into the roundup. Formula E, their season ended in the last year of this generation of car, and sees Pascal Wehrlein become a 2-time Formula E champion, wins race 1 on Saturday, holds on in race 2 to go out there and get that second Formula E championship for Porsche, who is doubling down next year. They're going to have 2 factory outfits in this the start of the next generation of Formula E there. So, and Taylor Barnard went out to become the youngest winner in Formula E history in the Sunday finale to get that done. Disney Plus, they announced, will be the global streaming home of Formula E. So just like Formula One, it's not like that many people were watching it anyways, but now less people will be watching Formula E. We got different news stories of Max Gunther leaving DS Penske, Norman Nato leaving Nissan. Of course, Norman Nato drives in for the Cadillac team in World Endurance Championship. I think Sebastian Buemi, who's been at it forever in Formula E, he drives for Toyota, so I think that was part of the reason why he's leaving the series. So the final results and standings in the Formula E World Championship: Pascal Wehrlein winning by 5 points over Jake Dennis. Basically the win on Saturday being the saving grace for him. Mitch Evans finishes third in points and by 9 points. Oliver Rowland tied Eduardo Mortara for fourth and fifth. Then Antonio Felix da Costa, Nick DeVries, Nick Cassidy, Nico Muller, and Sebastian Buemi rounding out your top 10. Taylor Barnard, with his win, moves all the way up to 11th in points, tied with former champion John-Eric Verne. And Pepe Marti. It was actually a good points battle there between a few of those guys. Ticked them and actually got a win a few races ago there. All right, so from there, move over to IMSA. This coming weekend will be at the Great Virginia International Raceway in the GT-only Michelin GT Challenge. Utilizes over 17 corners, 3.27 miles. I'll get into, I want to go and see if there's any, so Mustang Challenge, MX5 Cup, the, VP Racing Challenge, which probably should just be combined with the Michelin Pilot Challenge. And then, so 23 cars on the grid for the race this weekend, 10 in GT Pro, which will have the Car Blanche team. I think they've been running in GTD. Now they're going to run in GT Pro. They'll have Marco Sorensen joining Valentin Hasse Clote in the Aston Martin. Then you have the two Fords, Ben Barker now driving with Dennis Olsen. I think Seb Prio busy with the testing for the Ford prototype program. Mies Versvich is same. Easterson, Nikita Johnson, same there. Hawksworth, Barnacote, and the Vassar Sullivan. Lexus, Andrea Calderari, Sandy Mitchell in the Lamborghini for Pfaff. Yeah, you got the two Corvettes, and then Paul Miller Racing BMW, they are racing Porsche. 13 cars in GTD with the Vassar Sullivan Lexus, Aaron Telitz, Benjamin Peterson, the 13 Autosport Corvette, Sheena Monk, Felipe Fraga, Myers, Riley Ford Mustang, Dudu Barrichello, current points leader in GTD for Harder Racing, then Conquest with their Ferrari, the Harder Racing Aston Martin. Then Robert Wickens will be back this weekend. DXDT Corvette with his teammate Mason Filippi. Trent Hidman, Danny Formal, Vane Taylor Lamborghini. The Windward Racing Mercedes. So then, the Gradient Racing Ford, Inception Racing Ferrari, Dragon Speed Corvette, the Turner Motorsports BMW, and then the Wright Motorsports Porsche, which has Callum Ilott driving for them. So see how that goes. For IMSA, Supercars will be the Repco Supercars Championship. Ipswich will be this weekend before they race at the Bend, and then so that's then Ipswich Super League, then they'll have race at the Bend, and then I think those races, trying to, I forget what the hell, because it's confusing how they supercar calendar and tickets. So the sprint, so this is the last of the sprint rounds after this week, so they'll set up the top. There will be a separate, points, bonuses and stuff. There will have the Enduro Cup, which is the Bend, and then the Bathurst 1000, and then the Supercars finals, which will be 3 races, eliminating from 10 all the way down to 1 at Adelaide for the championship there. So we'll see the current driver standings heading in to Ipswich is Matt Payne leads by 118 over Brock Feeney, Cam Waters in third, Brody Kostecki, Kai Allen. So representing of that, there's 4 teams represented in the top 4 different teams, and then Penrite Racing first and fifth. The best of the Chevys, Anton De Pasquale, the Toyotas of the Walkinshaw Andretti United team of Chaz Mostert, defending champion Ryan Wood, and then Jack LeBrock in their 20 points ahead of James Golding for that last spot in the top 10. So see how that goes for them. NHRA back after a long break in their schedule. They'll be at Brainerd. Then they'll take a couple of weeks off before the U.S. Nationals, and then a couple more weeks to get into their playoff format there. So the in terms of Brainerd, I'll try to go and get into that. Who's in the live timing, driver info, entry list. So they finally be Top Fuel, Funny Car, and Pro Stock. No Pro Stock motorcycle. They don't have Pro. Okay. So it'll be those. The points right now, 4 drivers have locked into the countdown. Tony and Matty Gordon. I would say Tony, Matty Gordon, Josh Hart will all do so in Brainerd this weekend. Langdon and Coletta only separated by 5 points of teammates there. So interesting. Milliken, 72 points ahead of Schumacher, and Sean Reed said he's going to cut back for the rest of the season, so he's basically out. Will Smith literally 100 points or 95 points out there. In Funny Car, Ron Capps 37 points ahead of Jack Beckman, 42 ahead of J.R. Todd, 54 ahead of Jordan Vandergriff, 64 ahead of Matt Hagan. So huge battle. 2 races to go, with points and a half at the U.S. Nationals. So anything could happen with that top 5. Chad Green, Austin Prock, and Alexis DeJoria kind of in their own realm. And then, it would take an implosion for Daniel Wilkerson and Spencer Hyde to get knocked out by whether it's Dave Richards or Cruz Pentragon. In Pro Stock, it's Greg Anderson, Dallas Glenn, battle of teammates, 8 points between those 2 guys. Greg Stanfield, the only other car locked in so far. Eric Latino, 10 points ahead of Cody Anderson, which I think they're basically teammates. Then Kenny Delco, 62 points out. He's the only other one that's really in the mix to make it out of the Pro Stock class. And then we'll go to F1 Academy. F1 Academy, I haven't seen them in a while. Their last race for the ladies was in Silverstone in early July. Alicia Palmowski is 30 points ahead of Emma Feldmeyer. That's really the battle for the championship. Nina Godeman is third. Bruce and Ella Lloyd tied for fourth. The real points battle, I think, starts from fourth all the way back for the drivers there. Going into this weekend at Zandvoort, they'll be there. They'll race. They'll, of course, have the reverse grid, and then the feature on Saturday, and then Sunday they'll race the feature. Nina Godeman won race 1, and then Maya Wu won race 2 last year. So we'll see how it goes. Palmowski has won 3 times this year. Nina Godeman once. Emma Feldmeyer has won twice. So yeah, that goes. After this weekend's race at Zandvoort, they'll come back next at Austin for the Circuit of America's U.S. Grand Prix, and then they'll race at Las Vegas to end their year. So we'll see how that goes for those ladies. That leads into Formula One. Back for the first race since the summer break, post-summer break. the Dutch Grand Prix. Let us see here. So, I guess I go first here. Formula One, Dutch Grand Prix. I will go and say AKA to win with Lando and Lewis rounding out podium. That would help if I put my name there. How about you, Josh?
Yeah, I'll go with George Russell to win, Antonelli second, and Lewis rounding out podium.
It is the last Dutch Grand Prix. I think they're going to be in a rotation here every other year or something like that, or I forget the ones that are getting rotated and not. So I'm sure Fishlips wants to win. Of course, we're talking about free agent. They're talking about driver market. Alonso, whether he's going to keep on going. Ocon, of course, is probably out. What is Sainz going to be doing? Because he's pissed. Both him and Albon are both pissed with Williams. So I think there's going to be more intrigue in terms of what could come from these drivers, the driver movement, than some of the stuff going on in terms of the championship. IndyCars, of course, will be around the nation's capital this coming weekend for one-off event for, of course, the U.S.'s 250th anniversary, 7-turn road or street course racing around a lot of great monuments and stuff. So 147 lap race. So it'll be interesting. Nearly just right under 250 miles in distance, but it has a lot of the same characteristics of the old Meadowlands Roval from back in the day. So we'll see how that all goes. Car at Washington, D.C. Josh, it's open for you. Is it Alex Palou?
I'm gonna go with the trends here, and I'm gonna say that Marcus Ericsson continues his trend of opening a new course with the win. Like I said, he won Nashville back in 2021, right? And then winning here at Markham last week. Can he win on a new course at Washington, D.C.? So, yeah, I will go with Marcus Ericsson to win here at D.C. And then I guess as a wild card, I want to go look at the points standings before I say this. I want to go with, this is right on borderline. I'll go with Santino Ferrucci.
That would be good for the brand. I think they want that sort of thing. It's AJ Foyt's car. It's root beer float head. Root beer float head wild card. I'll just take the low hanging fruit here. No. I was gonna go Palou, but I want for full dramatic effect Pato Award to win. For multiple reasons, not just because he's my favorite IndyCar driver, but for other reasons. And then my wild card, I should just double down and go Caio Collet, but that isn't gonna.
It's pretty cold right there, if you know what I mean.
Yeah, it's just he'd like it if Howard. Nolan Siegel looks like one of the cabinet members, so, and then Louis Foster is what Hegseth wishes he looked like. So, no, that track is too rough. I really don't think that. I think, Frenchies, he has issues with France. Damn. I think, you know what? I wanted to go Colette for the brand. Germany, you'd like it if Mick Schumacher actually ran, also it wouldn't be fun. For balance, I'll just go Dennis Hauger. He has an accent and probably likes how he looks. So that'll be the wild card there. All right, so now Truck Series at New Hampshire. Big field, as I mentioned, this weekend for their regular season finale. The team EJP 175 at New Hampshire, 41 for 36. So 5 trucks will be going home. Gavin Bochelle is going to be in the Tricon number 1. Luke Baldwin in essentially a home game on a Reum number 2. Connor Hall making another start for Nice in the number 4 truck. John Hunter Nemechek going and starting a truck series race so he can go and cause a wreck here too. At the track where his dad won his, I think, first career race in the Cup Series. Not I think he did in 1997. And then battled Dale Earnhardt to finish second in the first ever Busch Series race there back in like 1990. Yeah, so Mason Massey in the 20, another McAnally truck. That gives them 5 total in this race. It seems to be a trend with some of these teams that are battling for the playoffs. Patrick Emmerling running for Reum Brothers this week. Colin Braun back in the Ram number 25. Mentioned Breidinger driving the 26, so she'll actually make the race. So 27 has to make it on time. Frankie Muniz, Dr. Sheffield's the original toothpaste. Wow. Parker Eamon, 42. Landon Lewis, 45. It's been the case recently. Halmar Freezing has 3 trucks out there this weekend, along with Stu Ball will be Christopher Bell, and Michael Christopher Jr. Will be in a number 72 with Wheelan Engineering on his truck. Cale Gale is a crew chief for Ben Rhodes. Damn, that's a throwback. D.L. Wilson, whoever he is. Tristan McKee in the 77. Connor Zilisch will be driving for Spire in the 71. You have Derek White. Of course, MBM got penalized their most recent start or attempt. So we'll see how that goes. I'll get back to it. So, yeah, I get picks here. First pick. I'll go with Lane Riggs, and then my wild card will be Michael Christopher Jr. How about you, Josh?
Yeah, for me, I guess. Did you say Lane Riggs as your winner?
Yeah.
Okay.
Yeah.
Okay. Yeah, I guess I'll go with I'm gonna go with Kaden Honeycutt as my winner, and as a wild card, I will go with I don't know. This is hard. Brendan Queen.
Yeah, Butterbean.
I think he's definitely low enough to be considered a wild card. So
I mean, he's driving a Dodge, so that's already a penalty. He's the best of the Colleague Dodges, to be fair, and considering a lot of the deficit they have to be 13th in points, I think it's borderline. What is it? Yeah, he is in theory, basically. Yeah, I think after Friesen was in place, so it works out. I'm gonna even taking Jake Garcia, but yeah, I took a wild card with a one-off, trying to make it in on speed and actually have a decent chance. So we'll see what happens with that. So then, last but not least, in terms of picks, is the Cup Series Dollar Tree 301 at New Hampshire. 36, of course. 36 for 36. 36 for 40. I mean, new sponsor, Sincoro Tequila on the 23. It seems like Bubba's been wanting to drink some tequila with how bad things have been going recently. At all the whatever sponsors. So yeah, Josh, you get first dibs here. Is this another Penske benefit? Are we seeing another win for Joey Logano at what essentially is one of his 2 home tracks? So it sounds like Martin Truex because he's got so many home tracks, but this is theoretically one of Joey Logano's home tracks. Is it him, or is it Blaney, or somebody else?
I'm gonna just keep saying it every week until it happens, but I'm gonna go with Christopher Bell to win. He's been on it for a while too, and I mean New Hampshire is a good track for him as well. Yeah. So he's won there in the past. So I'm gonna go Christopher Bell here as my pick this weekend, and then wild card wise, on the entry list here, we'll go with Todd Father. Yeah, the Todd Father, Todd Gilliland.
There you go, Todd Gilliland, wild card. For me, I'm gonna go with Ryan Blaney. The way the Penske car has been racing, I just have a hard time believing that he isn't gonna get another one here. I feel like this week or next week he's gonna get another win here to finish this regular season. I picked Blaney, so I kind of blocked myself out of the Josh Berry wildcard pick, but my wildcard pick will be. I have to go to the points. I feel like I want to go Homer pick here, but no, I can't. Damn it. Cause what is it? There's 35, so it'd be 17. Yeah, so yeah, I can't do that. That sucks. No, I'll go AJ Allmendinger. Why not? So I'll go Ryan Blaney to win and AJ Allmendinger wild card. All right, Josh, it's your time to shine. iRacing Gaming. What's going on in the sim segment?
Yeah, this week's sim segment, of course. Yeah, I mean, first thing, I guess, Open Wheels 500. Tanner dropped the rule book version 1.0 today, so for those entering the Open Wheels 500 later this year, guess start getting ready. He just dropped the first iteration of the rule book for that, so that's up there on their website on openwheels.com, I think, or via the email link there. iRacing Arcade coming to PlayStation 5 and Xbox August 21. So that's this weekend. The arcade version of iRacing there seems, very fun. Priced at $24.99 there. Arcade style racing of iRacing 4-player local multiplayer. New circuits: Jerez, Magny-Cours, Monza, Misano. Both Grand Prix and historic versions of Monza. Included the Fiat 500, Formula Junior, Touring Car, Formula 4, Porsche GT3 Cup, LMP2, GTP, Formula GP, Caterham, also including Aragon, Barber Motorsports Park, Imola, Autodromo Hermanos Rodriguez, Maple Ridge, F1 Miami, Sugar Hill Tsukuba Circuit, Bahrain International Circuit, Lime Rock Park, Knock Hill Racing Circuit, Circuit Paul Ricard, Sachsenring, Kalami Grand Prix circuit. So should be fun if you want to have iRacing on, but the very more casual version there. NASCAR 26 pre-order, talked about that last week. Let's see, this week in iRacing, tune in for weekly esports updates. Of course, let's see here, EU Creators Series, NASCAR Gen 7 at Brand Hatch. That was last week. Where's the news for this week here on iRacing? Yeah, this week in iRacing, August 18th. Yeah, here we go. So NASCAR iRacing Series this week at New Hampshire, of course, and Truck Series also New Hampshire this week. iRacing IndyCar at Chicago Street Course this week. I guess because they don't have a iRacing track yet at Washington D.C. Yet, so got that there. iRacing Grand Prix Tour, of course, mimicking the Formula One cars at Zandvoort Grand Prix Circuit there. Dirt 410 Sprint Car Tour, Kokomo Speedway, Dirt Track, Dirt Late Model Tour, Williams Grove, NASCAR William Modified Tour at New Hampshire, Grand Prix Vintage Tour, Monza GP without the first chicane on there. That's with the Lotus 79, daily racing special daily racing series Formula 4 at Road America, GT3 Regional Tour, Sonoma Raceway for sports car there. Then the Ring Master, which is the Nürburgring Master Series, Clio Cup, Renault Clio Cup at the Nordschleife there, and then Draft Master Series, Craftsman Truck Series at Daytona, Rain Master Series, GT3 at VIR this week. So, and then the Formula FIA Cross Car Championship this week at Winton Motor Speedway Rallycross Circuit there. iRacing released new iPhone app or iOS Android app, companion app there, so download that. I just looked at mine. I have to re-log in to mine. I guess it's when kind of don't like it when you have an app and they push an update and then you have to re-log into the app and everything. Kind of annoying there. But yeah, I have to re-log into iRacing on my phone there for the phone app there. But yeah, this week on iRacing, of course. Otherwise, Oval Tour, of course, everything New Hampshire for NASCAR. Since O'Reilly is off, they're doing at Richmond Raceway there, mimicking the real life iRacing or real life NASCAR O'Reilly Series off week, I guess, where they're not racing anything, so they're filling it in with Richmond. And then looking at that iRacing, IndyCar fixed series, fixed oval series, okay, at Indianapolis Motor Speedway, so maybe do that little 50 lap IndyCar race at IMS. Hard to say no to that, of course, on there. That's for iRacing, IndyCar, Sports Car Series. Let's see, what else? Sports Car Series, GT3 Fixed Challenge at St. Petersburg Grand Prix, Advanced Mazda MX-5 at Virginia International Raceway. As I mentioned, Rain Master Series at VIR, Toyota GR86 at Canadian Tire Motorsports Park, MX-5, Global MX-5 Cup at Oshlers Leben, Production Car Challenge at Suzuka Raceway, Sports Car Challenge at Virginia International Raceway there, iRacing, IMSA iRacing Series also at VIR, that includes GTP, which I guess the real life IMSA series only is the GT3 cars that for this week, but they are including GTP and LMP2 here, so that's interesting by iRacing there. So that might be interesting with the traffic and all that. Michelin Pilot Challenge for iRacing at VIR as well. So yeah, plenty of action this week on iRacing, of course, and everything. So yeah, of course, follow me, Twitch TV, uSailor2. You can go on there, watch all the streams. Maybe we'll stream some this week. Of course, next week, Daytona week, so that'll be fun as well. We'll see how much I'm able to do on there. And then, of course, you can follow me on Twitter at JP Huffine, of course, for all the updates on the Jaguars and reactions to NASCAR on there. Of course, follow photography page at Josh Huffine Photography on there. Go and follow me there as I continue to post stuff. Of course, Daytona coming up, so it'll be another opportunity to post photos from that. And, of course, Gripshire Podcast YouTube. Go in there and follow us on there. Subscribe to our page. So, yeah. Ready for the draft, I guess, for us next week. Looking forward to that. Looking forward to talking about that and getting on there and making decisions that'll hopefully lead me to finally getting the championship belt here in January. So definitely looking forward to that for sure. And the rest of the NASCAR season, football season, all that coming up.
Yeah, now we're getting into the nitty gritty of it. You got football season, hot and heavy, the end of IndyCars, Formula One will be back now, basically steady from now till, December. NASCAR season is going to go, at least Cup season, the rest of this until November. So plenty of stuff for us to talk about here. We'll be back, of course, next week on the GSP episode 329. So next week we'll recap New Hampshire, Dutch Grand Prix, the IndyCars. We'll also talk about week 2 preseason, review our fantasy draft. Roundup, we'll have everything. We talked about IMSA, Supercars, NHRA, F1 Academy, and also WRC, MotoGP, Moto2, and Indy next. Milwaukee, doubleheader for IndyCars, and Cup and O'Reilly at Daytona, which means Tate Fogelman algorithm will be back next week. So, yeah, you can find me at PGMGSP28 on Instagram. You can find the Gripster Podcast, of course, on our YouTube page, as Josh mentioned, handles so ably. Also GSP1428 and on philipgmatthew.com, podbean.com, our host site, Twitter at PGMatthew28. So please like, comment, subscribe, let your friends know about the Gripster Podcast. Been able to get everything updated more or less, so it's actually good compared to where it's been in the past. And now with the season getting really busy and back into a flow, it's going to be good to get keep going and keep this deal going on here in season 7. So thank you, Josh, as always, for all your hard work and friendship, and we'll get to hang out, of course, on Sunday for sure during the draft. We'll let everybody know what happens there and what's going on in the world of racing and sports here on the Gripster Podcast. For Josh and Phil, thanks for listening. Thanks for liking, subscribing, and we'll see you next time.